Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bench Mob Podcast. This is a Monday series where we just kind of catch up about what's been going on in the league this week. The NBA is starting to stabilize a little bit. We're seeing some trends that we can actually call trends now, so that's fun and interesting. Here with me today, we've got Justin Clareman.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How you doing?
What's up, Justin? We've also got a couple of Thunder fans on here. Tim Heaton. Tim, how you doing?
Man, I'm great today. This is actually will be the third podcast that I've recorded today, so I'm really hoping to hit my groove. You know, third time's the charm is what they say. So I went to the OU TCU football game last night. It was a great 5 or 6 matchup. OU dominated, but I almost lost my voice. I had to stop yelling in the second half because I was concerned that I wasn't going to have a voice left for recording today. But luckily, I'm not too hoarse, and I'm ready to go, man.
You got to get insurance on that voice, man. We're starting to get big time now.
Hey, man, that's a good idea, actually. I'm going to look into that.
The pipes are gold now. The pipes are where the money's made. So,
hey, I used to jokingly say that my face was my moneymaker, just mostly because I didn't want to get punched in the face. You know, I'd be like, hit me anywhere but not my face. That's the moneymaker. But now I got to include my throat. Like, don't punch me in the throat, man. I need the windpipes.
I always take the "don't punch me at all" stance, but I like where you're going.
Yeah, I generally try to avoid the punching situations, but
if someone's like real angry and they just need to hit something, like, you know, you hit me square in the chest, that's not gonna hurt that bad, probably. So just not in the face.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks, Tim.
I'm a buddy like that, man. I'll just let my friends, you know, slug me in the arm if they need to. Like, anyways, we're off topic at this point.
We'll continue on. Also, we have Will Pennington. Will, how you doing?
I'm glad to finally be able to introduce myself.
Yeah.
After that long intro, I'm also on my third pod of the day, so I'm starting to realize that we need to spread our recording time out and not just record everything on Sunday.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to. This podcast will have to take precedence on Sunday, probably, but
yeah, for sure,
because we don't want to miss anything. I know
on Sundays, God left him for rest and talking NBA basketball. I'm pretty sure. I think that's somewhere mentioned in a proverb.
Amen.
But that we'll roll with it. So I mean, we recorded one. What was it like? So we tried to do Sunday morning that one time, and then something happened. What happened on Sunday afternoon? I forget. Do y'all remember?
Was it the Melo trade?
No, it was the one you slept through, Justin. So,
yeah.
No, now that's gonna bug me because there was something that happened that evening, and I remember sitting around that evening and being like, "Well, wish we could have included this on the Monday pod," but
was it the Bledsoe deal?
No.
I feel like it was. Yeah. Anyway, it was. I think it was before that. I don't remember. Whatever. So, anyways, if we would have recorded Sunday mornings, we would have missed the Rudy Gobert news this week. So this is why we do this. This is why we stay up late. You're welcome.
Sacrifices.
Yes, sacrifices. So anyway, I guess we'll just jump straight into the Gobert news. It came out today that Rudy was injured fairly badly and is no structural damage, which is good, but some severe bruising and in the tendons, I think it was. Contusion, I think is what they called it. But
yeah, did this happen like on a play? Was this in game, or I saw the news, but I didn't see how it happened.
He went knee to knee with somebody. I can't remember who. I think it was.
No, this is Dion Waiters diving at his knee. Do you guys not see that?
No.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was Dion.
Yeah, this was.
I thought it was a knee to knee thing.
Not quite. Dion was and like quote unquote diving for a loose ball, um, and kind of like
So, as a Jazz
stumbled.
fan, do you feel like that he was maybe out of control and reckless? I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
yeah. There's definitely some accusations flying around the Twitter sphere around.
On a scale from 1 to Patrick Beverly, how sure
Oh,
are you that he did it on
oh no.
purpose?
Wow, that's bringing back something.
That's like yeah, not near Patrick Beverly range. If you guys get a chance, maybe you can just pull it up right now. But he so basically it was a loose ball, and Rudy was kind of on the side in the key, and Dion was headed that way. And then he kind of like lost his balance and stumbled, but it looked like he kind of lunged himself into Gobert. So I think that there's I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say, but I think there's a decent chance that Waiters meant to run into Rudy. I don't think that he was meaning to, hunt knee tendons and things like that. But I think there's a chance that he was trying to lean into him so that Rudy wouldn't get the loose ball. But I don't know. It was
Well, enough about that, really, because surely he wasn't, gunning for his knee. I haven't seen it, but I'm just guessing he wasn't. But what do you think that really does to the Jazz? I mean, what's their outlook for the next month and a half without him? I mean, obviously he's their best player, but can they sustain? Are they going to lose a lot of games? What do you think, Jack? This is your team.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Rudy is such a defensive presence, especially, and really has come into his own as an offensive presence as well. Um, so it's going to be tough, and Utah has struggled from the field just in general at the beginning of the season still. So it's definitely not something that I feel super good about. But I mean, it makes sense when you lose a player, then you're going to feel good about. But the the one promising
Do you
thing,
think this? I mean, I know it's quite early in the season, but do you think this might jeopardize playoff chances for him because they were going to be one of the maybe 6, 7, 8 seed in that range? I mean, with this injury, do you think that this could put
yeah, I mean,
them in
it
jeopardy?
definitely could. I think it because the timetable was given as 4 to 6 weeks, but I heard that he will be evaluated again in 4 weeks. So that kind of that makes me think that it's more going to be towards that 6 week ish mark because and especially with Utah, they're not exactly forthcoming with information when it comes to injury timelines. So it's gonna be just any person's guess really, just when exactly he's gonna come back. But we're looking at a real
They're also 6-7
right, right, and,
right now, so it's not like they're not doing themselves any favors.
yeah. So I mean, it's definitely not. And they definitely will miss him. Obviously, I think he's going to miss. I would guess probably about 20 games. I think that the back end of that timeline would put him missing about 20 games, which is a quarter of your season. So
Yeah, substantial.
that's a big deal. And obviously there's going to be some good games coming up with teams that are playing pretty well. So it just depends. It really depends. I think the huge thing for them is just going to be they have to figure out something on the offensive end because so far it just hasn't been working that well. And we've been running lineups with Rubio, Favors, and Gobert all on the floor at the same time, and that just hasn't been defensively have been pretty good, but not good enough
Not
to counteract the lack of spacing and agility in the lineup otherwise. So I do think that this will be interesting to see how Favors responds to this, especially because this is gonna push him in starting five role. Um, and Joe Johnson's also been hurt for the last couple weeks. I think he's due to come back soon, so that's going to help too as well as far as with depth. But I think that Favors could really see. He's obviously going to see an uptick in usage, but I think that you could see a little mini resurgence from him because the game against Brooklyn the other day when Rudy sat out before we knew what this injury timetable exactly was, Favors looked pretty good. And granted, this is Brooklyn, so prefaces, but he looked more like his old 2 or 3 years ago self, where he was one of the more athletic big men on the floor and really coming off the pick and roll and catching the ball well, finishing the ball well, getting those little post ups off of the Rubio pick and roll. So I think you'll see a lot of offense run through those two guys. Not that they weren't doing that already, but even more so. And then guys like Rodney Hood and Donovan Mitchell and Joe Ingles and Cephalosha are going to have to step up and carry some of that load as well. But I think there's a chance that this team could sustain. I think that their offense is going to have to be better if they want to stay in this playoff race.
How's Rodney Hood been?
Yeah, he's been fine.
For
but
Hood.
There's already Donovan Mitchell's already taken his starting spot in a couple of games just due to sheer explosiveness. That's the thing that Mitchell brings to the Jazz that they don't really have outside of that is they don't have any explosive players really. So, a lot of their guys are solid or good players or, good at their roles and that thing, but Mitchell is the one guy on the floor that can wow you with athleticism and, something different. And another promising sign was he did a lot better in the Brooklyn game coming off of ball screens and kind of timing those screens and timing his runs to the basket. The first few games he was just flying off of the screens and charging in there and getting shots blocked and throwing crazy shots up. So I think that he will also probably improve, and he'll have to improve if they're gonna stay in this playoff race because the West is still really deep, and especially with teams like Memphis and New Orleans playing well in the first part of the season. That's 11 quality playoff, and even the Lakers. Honestly, the Lakers are 6 and 7 right now or something. So there's just a big logjam down 5 and 8. Okay,
that's
so there's a big logjam there at the in the middle of the Western Conference, and it's definitely gonna be tough for them to stay in that hunt. But what do you guys think? I've been going on for a few minutes.
Well, I mean, I definitely think that I think I can't remember exactly, but I think I had Utah outside of the playoffs heading into the season in one of our season previews, the Western Tiers. But I kind of would like to maybe move over and talk about a team that you mentioned briefly, New Orleans, who's been looking a little bit better than they're still, a week away, 5 days away, I think, from getting Rondo back. So I know Justin's down in New Orleans, so he might have a little bit better grip on that team. Have you been following them by any chance, Justin?
Yeah, for the most part. And then just keep talking with some of my friends and New Orleans locals. They're loving what they're seeing so far. They really like the promise of this team. I mean, they're 7 and 6. They are notorious for getting off to extremely slow starts. I think they were 0 and 2 every year, the past 3 years or something, and then continue not really building to 500 at all. So this is a pretty good start for them. They're sitting at 7 in the West, and I mean Anthony Davis and Cousins are just killing it. They are absolutely killing it. In the game against the Clippers, they combined for 60 and 25. They've been playing extremely well together, spacing the floor. They've been hitting jumpers too. So I mean, it's been pretty good down here in New Orleans so far for them.
I haven't watched a ton of them. I've watched a couple games. Whenever at the beginning of the season they're kind of struggling, and was just seeing what Cousin was doing, and I think Anthony Davis was missing a few games in that little stretch that I was watching. But it'll be interesting to me to see kind of how Rondo fits in with this team, because there's a lot of things that Rondo can do well. It also kind of depends on what state of mind he's in, I feel, because I feel like that's a big thing with Rondo is if he's fully into it and, given his maximum effort, he can be a difference maker, and if not, he can really detract from a team and kind of be a locker room issue. We've seen a little bit throughout his career. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how their rhythm continues as Rondo comes back. Drew Holiday has been playing pretty well off the ball, and he'll continue to be off the ball a fair amount with Rondo coming back. I think he had his season high a couple games ago. I know he had a breakout game where he put up a good number of points for them. So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of Rondo coming back throws any kind of kinks into their chemistry, because they do seem to be finding a little bit of a rhythm here, and And it's really important for them to continue this good play because a lot rides on this season with Cousins being a free agent at the end of the year, and you know their ability to re-sign him, or their even desire to re-sign him versus potentially wanting to move him before the trade deadline. I know there's been speculation that if things go south for him, that they would try to get some assets back. So it's a pretty critical stretch, I would say, for the Pelicans to continue to play well through the rest of November and then December. So, I mean, does anyone have any thoughts on Rondo coming back? Or
So I wanted to jump in quick. So I was actually reading this article recently, and it was about the best like lineups that teams have been playing so far, and that's based off like offensive rating, defensive rating, and then true shooting as well. And I found it interesting that the Pelicans, their best like lineup so far, in terms of those three criteria, are Tony Allen, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday, and then Jameer Nelson, who's been like playing lights out for them this year. So they're playing like extremely good defense. Like that's really what they're known for, this lineup. And they also are pretty well rounded offensively, and they move at a good pace, and they're shooting the ball pretty well as well. But Gentry's been really sticking with like Ian Clark and Etuan Moore as well, and that's actually been raising their defensive rating, like making it worse. So I think it, just in terms of that, I think it could bode well a little bit for the future, just because with Rondo coming back, like he's like a bigger version of Nelson. Solomon Hill is going to be a good player for them. I don't think he'll play this year, but just in the future. And then, the one thing where Rondo lacks that Jameer Nelson obviously exceeds in is 3-point shooting. So that could be tough in terms of like moving the ball, because he does, considering that he doesn't shoot at all, like any like mid-range or 3-pointers, having, him and then two like big traditional like big men could really, be a problem for them. So it'll be interesting to see where he kind of fits in. I think he'll be better for them if they make the playoffs.
I think that's a valid point, but when you're talking about Boogie, you can't be like, oh, he's a, big man, a generic big man, because he's been so willing to shoot this season. Like, at least the Pelicans games that I've seen thus far, I've been really impressed with the way Boogie has looked on offense and the job that he's really intentionally done spacing the floor. And I don't think that Rondo's going to be a great addition for them coming back, but I also think that when evaluating this team, you can't just be like, well, they have two centers and Rondo on the court.
Yeah, no, Boogie has been pulling up from like long range as well. So I guess not traditional big men for sure, but still in terms of he's not like a guard or a forward in that sense. So you obviously have to respect him, but he's not really gonna like kill you off the dribble like like someone else, like a Kawhi Leonard type.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised that if their best lineup doesn't include Rondo and those two guys, just because Rondo's a player that offensively he really needs the ball in his hand to be the most effective. And I just don't think that if you're in New Orleans that you want Rondo having the ball in his hand as much as he would like to, just because that takes the ball out of DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis's hands. And just, and Drew Holiday he can be a player that can create off the dribble some too. So I wouldn't be too surprised to see. I think that Jameer Nelson's probably a better fit with that starting lineup. I think Rondo could be good for when they have just one of those guys out there at a time, or maybe with bench units, to kind of help with the playmaking aspects. But if I was Gentry, I would definitely consider having Rondo come off the bench, especially like Justin was saying, they seem to kind of have found a groove with Jameer Nelson at point guard. So that'll be interesting to see when Rondo comes back, what happens with the rotations and the lineups and all that stuff. All right, guys. So now let's go into a little bit of the trophy a little too early. At least I did. I don't know about you guys, but James Harden is having another incredible season already. I know that the Thunder fans don't necessarily like talking about that, but
I still root for James Harden.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know. I can't speak for Will, but I want him to succeed as long as it doesn't come at the hands of the Thunder.
True. So yeah, I mean, they've been missing Chris Paul basically this entire season so far, and the Rockets are still tied with the Warriors with the best record in the West. So, and James Harden, I've got a couple of stats that I pulled up this week. He has an assist percentage of 51.4 right now. With his minutes, that means that he assists half of the time that he's on the floor, or half of the buckets that happen when he's on the floor, he assists on. Not even mentioning the ones that he scores. He's already tallied the highest win shares in the league at 2.9, and he has the highest value over replacement player in the league already. So this guy's just tearing it up. I haven't gotten to see too much of him. I think he leads the league in 3-point attempts too, which is not
surprising.
I'm pretty sure that him and Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson are all in the top 5 or 6.
They are.
Yeah, he's shooting 11 threes a game right now.
That's preposterous.
Wow.
And I just in terms of, if you look at his last 3 games, I'll throw today's game in too right now that he's played 30 minutes in. So on November 5th, he went for the 56-point game on 25 shots
against Utah,
and he went 7 or 8 from 3, which is fucking unbelievable. Excuse my language. Like 56 points on 25 shots, like that is crazy. November 9th, he goes for 35 on 21 shots. November 11th, he goes for 38 on 25 shots. And tonight he's at 26 points on 20 shots. Like, he's just been cooking on this last streak. So, you know, and it's no surprise that they've won all those games as well.
Yeah, and that Utah game, it wasn't like he was shooting like wide open shots all the time. Most of the shots were contested or even heavily contested. He was just on fire. It was nuts.
Yeah.
There's been few games that I've seen that have been, you know, watching one person just light it up like that.
He has double-digit assists in every one of those games except for one of them, and he has 13 already, like tonight. And he's been distributing the ball extremely well. I mean, I don't want to say that this is like the best I've ever seen him, but it's definitely up there with some of the stretches that he's been on. Like, this is probably, you know, some of the best basketball that he's played in his career, and it's extremely awesome that they're doing this without Chris Paul. Like, and it's definitely going to be at the forefront of conversation, like, you know, the level that they should be performing at when Chris does eventually come back. Like, you know, will Harden continue, you know, shooting the ball this much? Like, how will he fit into the offense? Because they didn't look that great with him in that one game. And I know it was only one game, but he just kind of looked out of place. Like, they were still feeling each other out. So it'll be interesting to see, like, how they kind of can gel together once he comes back.
At this point, would you consider bringing Chris off the bench when he comes back if he's healthy?
You can't do that.
Telling Chris Paul to come off the bench.
Yeah, because Gordon's been playing great in the starting lineup too. He's been unbelievable as well. Like, and you know, I thought that he could win Sixth Man of the Year, but now since he's started, I don't know the criteria for how many games you have to, you know, come off the bench for, but he's been playing lights out as well. Probably some of the better basketball he's played in his career as well.
Yeah, for sure. And even more impressive about the start is that not only are they playing without Chris Paul right now, they're also playing without all of the depth that they had last year and all these players that they traded to get Chris Paul. So,
well, they're going to be playing without that depth anyways. That's you're not wrong. I'm just saying, like,
right. But like in comparison to last season, that's not this season. I'm talking about like when you look at it versus what he was doing last season. That's why I think this is even more impressive, is because that he doesn't have even the help around him that he had last year.
I'll be honest, and it's hard to say because he was a Clipper last year, but Mbah Mute's been playing like really well for them off the bench. I know we touched on their depth, but right now he's averaging 8 points, which is, you know, the best which is better than he averaged at all with the Clippers in a starting role. He had a 20-point game on November 3rd. So he's been like playing some pretty solid minutes, and he's been known to be a defensive player, defensive stopper, but he has been scoring a little bit on the offensive end, making some plays. So I don't know if that's because everyone's so focused on, James Harden and like Eric Gordon and some other guys on that team, but he's been fitting in nicely for them so far, and he's only making the minimum.
Yeah, he was a great signing, great pickup for him, for sure. What I was going to say before you jumped in was it's going to be hilarious, and honestly, I want Harden to win MVP this year, I guess. I guess I want Russell Westbrook or Paul George or a Thunder player to win it, but
Melo.
But I feel like no, I'm okay with that. But yeah, I feel like Harden kind of deserves it a little bit. Last year I know that there's a ton of Rockets fans that were upset that Harden didn't get it because whenever Harden had the incredible year where he did basically everything for the team and didn't have much help, was Steph Curry's first MVP. That was the argument against Harden. He had better numbers than Curry, but it was the team success that kind of swung the vote for him. And then last year they had the kind of opposite thing happen where they had all the team success, but Russell Westbrook had the triple-double. And, I'm not saying that Russell Westbrook shouldn't have won the MVP. I think he should have because he had a historic season we may never see again. But it would be hilarious if somehow Harden got snubbed for an MVP after having a great year this year, just to have that fan base freak out even more. But ultimately, I hope that he can continue to play well and gets an MVP because, I said I root for Harden. That way we can say Sam Presti drafted 3 MVPs in back-to-back-to-back seasons.
That's pretty unbelievable. That's pretty crazy. I knew that, but you saying that is pretty. That really sticks out.
Yeah, I don't know. That probably's never happened. It's probably pretty rare that he drafted back-to-back MVPs with Russell and KD, and then you throw Harden in there. Yeah, it's insane. It doesn't get me upset that we didn't get to see them all together in their prime. I'm not upset.
Since we kind of talked about Houston is the best team, or record-wise, them and the Warriors are the best team in the West. Can we jump to the Celtics a little bit and talk about the unbelievable streak that they're on right now?
Before we do that, I want to move to the whole Bledsoe and Milwaukee thing real quick. I know that we haven't touched on that a whole lot, and then we'll go to the Celtics after that. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
I will allow
no,
it.
That doesn't work for me.
I will allow it, host Jack.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, the home of the other prime MVP candidate, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee has. They haven't really gotten a whole lot as far as impact out of Bledsoe yet because he's only played parts of 1 or 2 games, but it does appear to, just from a lineup point of view, it does appear to give them that secondary playmaker that they really desperately needed outside of Giannis. My question for you guys is, what do you think their best lineup is going forward?
I went back and forth on who was gonna get the axe from the starting lineup once Bledsoe got inserted, and I thought it was gonna be Tony Snell. I thought Brogdon was gonna, was gonna play the 2 guard for them, but Snell's been starting and Brogdon's been getting more minutes, so I guess that kind of evens out. But I would probably go Giannis, Brogdon, Middleton, Bledsoe, and then probably I think Henson's been playing really well this season, and so I think he's been opening a lot for them. So that might be their best lineup. Not not crazier than anything that people would expect, but I think that's going to be really good for them going forward.
It'll be interesting to see how that lineup, what they do. I'm assuming that they'll probably bring Jabari Parker off the bench, but it'll be interesting to see how they handle the minutes. Obviously, Parker will have to work back up to game shape and whatnot, but they have a really good collection of players moving forward. And didn't even mention Thon Maker, who is still young and developing, but he's shown some good flashes. The Bucks, I don't think that this is the year necessarily for them, but they're pretty scary moving forward to the next couple seasons if they can keep everyone on their team. I mean, I guess Parker's the question. Is he due for an extension this? Yeah, he is, isn't he?
Yeah, he's coming up at the end of his contract at the end of this year. So they really, despite whether they want to sign him again or let him walk, they really need him to play well in his little period there. I think that would just serve the team really well. But yeah, that's definitely going to be the big question for me, is especially what happens when Jabari comes back. Do you try to run him and Giannis at the 4 and the 5? It's just kind of, I don't know that that's a great lineup, just because I think they would get kind of destroyed on the boards there. But you could see it for sure.
I think that they desperately needed a player like Bledsoe to create like opportunities for himself, because aside from Giannis, like no one else on that team could really do it, and they're obviously going to hope that Jabari can be that guy. But now that they have Bledsoe at this moment, he can do it. And I think we should note as well, Middleton is playing, I don't know if it's a shooting slump because it's been this whole season so far, but he's shooting 27% from 3 this year,
which is a career 40% 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Like,
that's got to be small sample size, right?
So that's like,
I would say that a lot of it is probably, but some of it is probably that he has been asked to do more than maybe in the past, just because he is the primary shooter. So they've run some of the, like a JJ Redick or a Klay Thompson like action for him, and I don't know that he's necessarily designed for that.
Because he's shooting 4.8 threes a game this year, and he's taking 16.4 shots a game. So it's like 25% of his 20. I was doing the math. 25% of his shots are threes right now, and he's shooting at 26.3% this year, and that's like he's shooting a career high from mid range, which is pretty, which is why his shooting percentage is at 41%. But 26% for a guy who's supposed to be their floor spacer, who's supposed to be their shooter. I think that's been why they haven't really lived up to the hype that kind of built them this offseason.
Yeah, and I do think it will be important for them moving forward to have. I think that Brogdon coming off the bench, it will be important for them to have Brogdon playing in those lineups when they don't have Bledsoe in there. So I think you'll see a lot of that. You may see them coincide down the stretch and things, but for most of the minutes, I would anticipate that Bledsoe and Brogdon kind of split those up, just to kind of ease the playmaking load and help that second unit, especially because they had really struggled.
Did you guys see the fast break against the Spurs though, where it's like a steal and Giannis pushes it up to Bledsoe, and Bledsoe's like driving down. He probably could have just like made this layup. I think it was like LaMarcus Aldridge kind of trailing him, but he throws it up like pretty high, and Giannis just comes like trailing the ball, just yammers it down with one hand. And I was like, this is this fast break like team, because Bledsoe loves to like run the floor like that. Like they could be deadly in transition with Bledsoe at the at the forefront of operating it. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this team can go.
And now imagine Jabari Parker in that fast break as well. That's pretty.
Oh yeah, that's dirty. What happened, Tim?
And there's a travel by the Mavericks, and they just didn't call it. Wesley Matthews took like 3 steps. It didn't matter. They missed it. I'm watching Thunder Mavericks a little bit right now because basketball never stops. So I keep one eye on this, keep both ears on what we're talking about. I'm multitasking to the max right now.
Make sure you keep both ears. We need both of your ears here.
Yeah, I got my headphones in. Yeah. I got the game on mute.
Could we jump?
All right, fair enough.
Could we jump to the Celtics now, just real quick? Because I know their game today, they beat Toronto by 1 point on without Kyrie Irving today, and I thought it's pretty funny. There's like that meme going on of Kyrie wearing like the LeBron black like face mask because he has the minor like facial fracture. So I thought that would have been cool to see him maybe break that out. But so they won. They won with Rozier hitting a pretty much buzzer beater three to end halftime and the third quarter, and that third quarter jumper put them up by one heading into the fourth. And they lost, or the Toronto lost on DeRozan catching the ball off like a pin down screen and kind of doing a little Kobe back down shuffle, and he just missed it. And after the game, Jaylen Brown said he thinks DeRozan makes that shot 9 out of 10 times. So this was the one that he missed. But they've won 12 games straight. So I think they're the best team in the NBA right now, record wise, and just the way that Brad Stevens has been controlling this team.
I don't know about better than the Warriors, but best in the East.
I think in the non-Warriors category, they're probably the best team.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the non-Warriors
in the
tier,
earthly realm,
like
basketball. Celtics.
Yeah,
the Celtics are definitely holding their own. Them and Houston have definitely been the most impressive teams to me so far. We knew what the Warriors can do, but those two teams have been better than I expected.
Their starting lineup tonight was a little interesting. That Smart got the start at point guard, because I guess he plays point guard, but he usually is there to help like Isaiah, defend, and then he was playing with Kyrie as well. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that was kind of the lineup that they ran with.
Yeah, and that Boston really has had a lot of growth and maturity out of their young players that I didn't expect at this point. So that's definitely bolstering and it's got to bolster their hopes too, as far as future, looking for the future. That this is a team that could really make some noise. We anticipated that they'd be really good, but with how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have played, and even Semi Ojeleye, he's looked really good at times too. So with those guys,
just in spot minutes, but
with those guys playing as well as they are right now, this team could be really, really
They
good,
are such a great example of what it looks like when a team has good coaching, good top end talent, and good depth.
And good mindsets. Like they all play the game pretty like it should.
They're getting back to that preseason vibe that they had when you watch them. They were just, the ball was moving and there was beautiful play and the guys were contributing and hustling on both ends of the floor. It just they're playing a beautiful brand of basketball right now.
I've been extremely impressed with Kyrie this season because I think he, when Hayward went down, people kind of thought, okay, he's gonna take over and be like the MVP. He's gonna kind of be a Westbrook almost, shoot the ball a lot, have an extremely high usage percentage, and just take over games. And while he showed that he has done that, it's just been at times. He's really been creating plays for his teammates. He's been opening up opportunities for them, on a nightly basis. And then when they kind of need him to be that guy, he will go and get buckets for you. But I think he's kind of asked these young guys hey, let's see what you got. And Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have really stepped up to the plate. And defensively, Kyrie is probably playing the best he's ever. I didn't know that he could take it up to this level. He's been playing extremely well. I'm pretty sure, yeah. So but even and I don't like getting caught up in the numbers like that too. But I watched this one clip of him when he was bouncing back and forth on screens. It looked like he was this was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. How much effort he was putting in on that defensive possession, and it ended up with he forced the player into an extremely hard contested jumper that they missed, and I was wow, he just turned it into another gear defensively that I have never seen him take before.
Yeah, this is probably the most I've ever seen Kyrie want to play basketball, especially on both ends of the floor, and that is huge for Boston and Brad Stevens and the rest of that franchise.
Yeah, and just empowering his team. But yeah.
One last little topic that I wanted to touch on here was LeBron came out today and said something kind of weird about Dennis Smith being in New York and they should have drafted him and yada yada. So did you guys see that? And two, what is he talking about? Why did he do this?
I did see that, and really I don't know why LeBron sometimes feels the need to like poke his nose into other teams' business. I know that I've seen some writers say, especially around the draft time, that the Knicks should have picked Dennis Smith. So that wasn't just a completely hot take from LeBron. But I don't know why he sometimes just feels the need. Maybe it's just to deflect from the Cavaliers kind of struggling. Sometimes he just feels the need to comment on other teams and decisions they make, and it baffles me. Maybe he should be more focused on the Cavs and then playing defense. But
and after the history that he had with Phil Jackson and kind of the back and forth that they got into on social media and through statements that were made to the press, he's had it out for this New York team for a while, both on the court and kind of in his comments to the media. And it's interesting to see that continue even in the post-Phil Jackson era.
I think he's just showing his versatility for when he wants to get a general manager job after he retires. Showing he's a man of many talents.
I thought that he was going to own a team.
Yeah, but like to own the team, he has to operate it. He has to be the sole guy. I guess that is the owner.
Player,
but
owner, coach.
I think he would want to be more involved. Like, look, dude,
take it. Like, you got to one up Mike on it, basically.
Yeah. One up Mike and Magic right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, going back to what his comments were about how they should have taken him over Frank Ntilikina, or however you might actually pronounce his name.
The Frenchman.
Yeah, the Frenchman.
Tilikina.
What is it?
Tilikina.
All right, well, I'm probably never going to get that right, but I'll try. I mean, Frank, I'll just stick to Frank. That seems way easier. Frank looked pretty solid. I mean, he was injured coming into the season. I'm not exactly sure what, but I know that he missed the first couple games, and then they kind of eased him into it. And he hasn't been starting for him, has he?
I actually don't know. I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks.
I don't think he's in the starting lineup. But
no, he's not.
Yeah,
he's not.
But I mean, he's looked pretty good whenever he gets in there, and. Of course, all his teammates kind of came to his defense. Porzingis said, I don't know why LeBron said that. I wouldn't trade Frank for anybody. And Cantor had a tweet that he put out there about how he also, would take. Here actually is Cantor's exact quote. I don't care who. I just can't let anyone disrespect my family like that, because when I play for an organization, I see my teammates in that organization like a family. So
dude, Cantor's awesome.
Yeah. Cantor really carried on the Oklahoma City vibe. That was definitely something that he picked up in Oklahoma City, because that was not the case whenever he was with Jack's Utah Jazz. But yeah, some of the players came out and spoke, about Frank and gave him his support, and he's looked like a good player. I believe he's the youngest player in the NBA right now.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Because he didn't have the European, they're not quite subjected to the same one and done.
He's
rule.
19. He's 19. I'm pretty
He's
sure.
definitely 19. The question is just if he's younger than Lonzo or.
Part of me still feels like Devin Booker's the youngest player in the NBA. I know he's not, but I just heard that so much. I feel like he will always be the youngest player in the NBA.
Who's that?
Devin Booker is notoriously 20.
Yeah, he doesn't age, man.
Yeah, he's
got a baby face, so
yeah. Well, he's 21 now.
Yeah,
but in terms of Frank, I think he's not shooting the ball extremely well, and I think that comes with being the rookie. Most rookies that don't shoot extremely well right off the bat, but I think what I've been most impressed with is his passing. He's really been distributing the ball at a really high rate. So just looking at his last, let's say 5 games, he's had 9 assists, 8 assists, 7 assists, 3 assists, 8 assists, which is he's averaging 5 on the year and only playing like 23 minutes a game. So I think that's pretty impressive, just right off the bat. And, he's surrounded by a lot of Knicks who maybe aren't the best shooters and stuff. So I'm sure he could average a little bit more with some help from his teammates. But I thought that's a stat that stuck out there the last couple games that stuck out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you bring up the fact that the Knicks maybe don't have the most shooting around, but who is shooting the ball very well and looking quite excellent is Porzingis. I mean, he really had a good stretch, a week and a half or so stretch where he was kind of lighting the world on fire, averaging like 33.6 points, I believe, a game. And, the Knicks kind of bounced back during that stretch where, I have the record right here. They're sitting at 7-5. So they've.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought that they were worse.
Yeah, they went on a good run, and Porzingis was the big reason why. And one interesting thing that I kind of noticed about his game, and an adjustment that I feel really suits him and has made a big difference, is now whenever he catches it, and he does it most anywhere, he doesn't even have to be that close to the basket. He typically has such a height mismatch. And especially with his length and his shooting motion, he can get a shot off over anybody. And so he really has, whenever he catches it, he's just been kind of turning, facing up, and not even really making a move, just shooting over top of the defense. And it's kind of like the old Dirk thing. I mean, Dirk used to kind of do the dribble, one-legged jump, kind of fade away. That was the Dirk shot. And he isn't exactly operating just like that, but it's the same concept to me of where he's getting a high release off on a shot and just shooting over top of somebody, and the defense really can't affect his look at all. And he's been shooting at a high rate and just really carrying that offense. And he's looking like he is going to be a force for years to come because he's still 22 or 3. I mean, he's still a really young player, so he's just scratching the surface. So it
definitely helps when you're 7'3".
Yeah. Right now, Chris Stapps is tied for second with Anthony Davis in PER, and he has the highest usage rate in the league while still shooting a .614 true shooting percentage. So he's been ultra efficient so far too. He's had 36 usage percentage is ridiculously high, higher than Harden, but. And he's still maintained efficiency pretty well with all that volume that he's got in New York. So Chris Stapps has really been a really, really good player this year.
I think Melo leaving has been the best thing for him, just because he is creating his own shots so much more. He's playing with confidence that I haven't seen him possess before this. So. I guess to put it into perspective, you put a little numbers too, so I'll throw some in as well. He's shooting the ball 21.5 times this season, which is 7 more shots than he took last year, and he's averaging 12 more points than he did last year, which is small sample size, yes, but 30 points is pretty tough to do even in 11 games. So the Knicks are on an 8-1 run right now in their last 9, and it has been at the helm of him. So he's been putting up 30 plus consistently over that stretch. So it's pretty amazing how good he is right now. And all I can remember is that little Knicks kid crying when they drafted him, and now he's the face of New York, and it's pretty cool thing.
Yeah, but so back to the LeBron thing real quick though. My theory is that LeBron is just saying this to try and get everybody worked up in New York, and I think it's working. I think he's just because Cleveland just came off of a game against Dallas and going into a game against New York. I think that LeBron is just kind of trying to play up this game and make the Knicks players and fans a little upset with him, so he can come in there and have a big national spotlight, and they can
play the villain.
Yeah, play the villain a little bit, and maybe try and turn their season around a little bit because
that's such him. That's such a him thing. He's so petty.
That's my guess at least. And the Knicks.
I mean,
the Knicks
he really embraced the villain role whenever he was with Miami.
Yeah, and the Knicks are ahead of the Cavs right now, so I think that I think he's just trying to give them a little bit of extra motivation to get coming into that game. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist, but
No, I agree with you. I think it's like that's such a LeBron thing to do. Like, and just what is it in New York too? Is
I
that
believe so. I'd have to double check that.
Yeah, it is. It's in New York, and he's just gonna like. I would not be surprised if he went into the Garden and dropped like 45.
And now the media is going to be there,
like
and
something.
all the New York writers
Yeah.
are already typing up their pieces for tomorrow. So
Exactly. Yeah, 45, like 15 and 11 or something. Like lock it in. That's my take right now.
What was the ridiculous stat line LeBron put up against the Wizards a couple weeks ago? Like the 50 points.
Yeah,
he had
57.
and
57, yeah.
I don't even remember what the rest of it was, but
It was. I'm pretty sure it was a triple double, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it now because
Jack, you had another round of the stat game for us. Is that right?
yeah. So actually, I mixed it up a little bit this week, just to give us another week to breathe on the. Tim, are you about to get on your computer and look this up? Is that what I see you doing right now?
No. I'm just, like I said, I'm multitasking. I was sending a text message, to be honest.
Okay. All right. We don't want any cheating here.
I promise, man. I'm a man of honor. I would
Okay.
not cheat in the stat
Oh
game.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Although
I won't look.
I guess I did have a habit of maybe.
We can't see
peeking
Will.
at-
We
at
can't
my
see Will,
neighbor's
but we
desk
trust
back in
him.
college, so
I'm cheating my ass off over here.
Damn it, Will. All right. So
Hey,
I don't even know how to cheat yet. I don't even know what the new game is.
Yeah,
So-
me
if you
too.
ain't cheating, you ain't trying, right?
Exactly.
all right. Well, the new game is I've got 3 different little subcategories here, and I'm going to give you 3 or 4 players and 3 or 4 numbers, and you guys are going to see if you can match which player has put up which number so far. Got it?
Fun.
All right.
Yes.
So first we have 3-point attempts for the New Orleans Pelicans. The three players are Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, and Drew Holiday. The 3 numbers are
Wait. Sorry. Anthony Davis.
Boogie Cousins,
Drew
and Drew
Holiday.
Holiday.
Okay.
And the 3 numbers are 101, 33, and 50.
101, 33, and 50.
Yeah.
And this is total
Just
3-pointers
3-pointers
attempted.
Yep.
Boogie's 101.
I'm gonna say Boogie's 101, Anthony Davis is 50, and Drew's 33.
Going full reversal.
I think Anthony Davis is the 33, Drew's the
Yeah.
50, and Boogie's the 101.
I'm with Will on this one. I know that Boogie was jacking up threes for a good stretch, so he's got to be the 101. And then Davison missed some time, so I'll put Drew Holiday in the 2 spot there.
Yep. You, Tim and Will, you guys are right. That's
Ah,
that's a staggering amount of 3-pointers for a center.
yeah.
What do you happen to know who? How many attempts lead the league? I guess Harden's. We said 12 a game, and they played 10 games.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, DeMarcus Cousins is like 4th or 5th in the league at 3-pointers attempted.
in attempts.
So I don't know if that's going to keep up or not, but that's staggering.
That's extremely high. That's crazy. I kind of, my thought process was that you were trying to just trick us, but I guess that's like you didn't make those numbers, like they were. That's like just actual like legit stats.
Yeah.
So maybe I should have
I've
thought
scoured
differently.
the web for interesting stats to bring to you guys. So,
Yeah.
all right, so the second one we have is Detroit net rating. So a little more advanced here, and
Oh, Paul George just threw down. Oh my goodness, that was nasty. I'm sorry.
all good.
He just drove right through the teeth of the defense, just took off, threw down.
Pistons net rating.
Yep, Pistons net rating. We have 4 players this time. So the 4 players are Anthony Tolliver, Avery Bradley, Reggie Jackson, and Stanley Johnson. The 4 numbers are 19.7, 7.7, 2.9, and negative 0.4.
Okay, let me take a first stab at this. I got Anthony Tolliver the 19 just because that seems like a number that has like small sample size written all over it. So I got to put him first. Give me the other three players. I know you said
Reggie, Avery Bradley, and
Stanley
Johnson.
Johnson. Okay, I'll put Avery Bradley second in net rating. And then most likely Stanley Johnson's the negative, but I'll put him third just because I really, really dislike Reggie Jackson for thunderous reasons. And so I know that he's not the case, but I'm going to put him last in my guess, just out of spite.
Oh,
Justin or Will, you guys want to guess?
yeah, I'll take a shot at it. So I think Reggie's been playing pretty. I think Stanley Johnson is definitely the -0.4. I totally agree. I think he's been playing horrible this year.
Yeah, you guys are right on that. Stanley is a -0.4.
Yeah,
which is disappointing to my soul.
I think I agree with you. Tolliver it's small sample space at the 19.7. That's like pretty high. I'll go with that. I'll go with Reggie at 7.7 and Bradley at 2.9.
Okay, Will, you got a guess?
Honestly, that's about in line with where my guesses would be. I reasoned it out through kind of a similar course of action like everyone else was describing. The 19 seems a little bit misleading. Stanley Johnson obviously seems like the guy with the negative impact. And then the other two, it's just a kind of a matter of personal preference. I think Reggie's probably the lower of those two numbers, but that's just my personal guess.
Yeah, Reggie is actually the 7.7.
Let's go.
So the list goes, and Anthony Tolliver actually, his minutes are not as low as I thought they would be. He's been playing really well so far this year, but still pretty small sample size. You guys are right. Anthony Tolliver 19.7, Reggie Jackson 7.7, Avery Bradley 2.9, and Stanley at
your boy got them all.
I was shocked that Avery Bradley has such a lower rating than Reggie Jackson did, but because I feel like when I've watched them, they've been best with Reggie off the floor again. But I guess that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, he sucks, so I don't care what the numbers
starting
say.
point guard, writing it on his shoe when he's playing behind Russell Westbrook, but
Yeah.
man, that was dumb.
You're not going to get any positive words about Reggie Jackson out of me. In fact, quick story, I used to make sure that I dropped 100-plus points anytime I was playing my career game against Reggie Jackson on 2K. I would be like, oh, I got to cook him. Like, I had to embarrass him. I would turn it down to rookie and just rip him like 10, 12 times a game.
I didn't realize how deep this hate went. Wow.
Man, he quit on the Thunder. We don't need to get into a rant about it. I can do it at any time, but he quit on the team, so.
All right, well, I got one more that I want to get to, and then we'll close it out for the day. So the third one is similar to the last one. It's Portland's plus-minus this time, just regular box plus-minus. The three players we have are Al-Farouq Aminu, Evan Turner, and Noah Vonleh.
Ooh.
And the three numbers we have are 10.3, 4.2, and -2.2.
10.3, 4.2, and -4.2.
10.3, 4.2, and -2.2.
Will, you want to go first on this one? I feel like you haven't yet.
Yeah, who were the three players again?
Al-Farouq Aminu, Evan Turner, and Noah Vonleh.
Okay, so from top to bottom, I think it goes Turner, Al-Farouq Aminu, and then Noah Vonleh is the negative.
Okay.
That's my guess.
I would go with actually Al-Farouq Aminu as top, then Evan Turner, then Vonleh. I've seen a good handful of Blazers games, and I feel like Al-Farouq Aminu has actually been playing really well for them. So I'm guessing he's top.
I'm going with Tim. I agree with that order.
Yep, Justin and Tim, you guys are right. That's so for Aminu at the 10.3, Evan Turner 4.2, Noah Vonleh -2.2. But another thing that was shocking about this was that I think that Dame Lillard was at 4.3, if I remember right. So Aminu had easily the highest on the team.
Wow.
Over double what anyone else is doing so far in Portland. So
Let's just talk about how I got 2 out of those 3. So,
Justin, you got the 4-person one. That's pretty. I'm impressed.
Listen, I torpedoed that 4-person one just because of Reggie. So.
Yeah, you totally did.
That's true. So yeah, that's all I got for today, guys. You got anything else you want to touch on before we dip out of here?
We can wrap it up, but I do want to mention that right now we have 6 hours left on our Mobs Champion polls that are on Twitter, which me saying that doesn't make any difference because this pod won't be out in time. But Ben Simmons is still beating Kevin Durant by a slim 51% margin after 90 votes. So fingers crossed that we got
Twitter, man.
We got an upset going right now on Twitter. So if anyone hasn't checked out our Mobs Champion, we're starting to get into the point where the debates are really close. There's a lot of good players, and it all comes down to your vote on Twitter to dictate who moves on. So upset city, upset alert. Kevin Durant might be going down in the second round, and definitely be on the lookout for the next episode of Mobs Champ that will be out on Friday. So, Jack, I'll let you kind of lead us out.
Yeah, for sure. We also got that's going to be that's going to be the second round of the Bigs region, and then after that we'll be in the group semifinals. So that's when it really is going to start to pick up, especially in a few of those highly contested regions. So, but yeah, I think that's all we got for today. For Justin, for Tim, for Will, thanks to those guys for being on. This was another Monday edition of the Bench Mob, and check us out at the Bench Mob NBA. Check out our website, thebenchmobnba.com. We got an email address. The list of contributors is actually really cool. We've put together some lists of like more local team coverage. I've been using that a lot actually the last couple of days. So those are pretty cool. Send us recommendations if you guys got any content that you wanted to get out on these Twitter lists. And thanks for listening. See you later.